then about 11:30 a.m. We'll be doing lunch. 2:30 p.m. Paul Lopez, the clerk and the recorder, will be here for Denver. Will be here for voter registration and homelessness. At 3 p.m. it will be Joshua of PSL. He will be speaking on race and homelessness. And at 3:30 it will be speakers from the homeless. It will be speakers that have homeless or unhoused. All right. 5:30 it will be dinner. 8 p.m. movie time. Movie time. I don't know what the name of the movie is, but when you're free, you just want to relax. Next, these are the rules. Well,
agreement.
These are the agreements that you must follow if you're going to be in this particular space. Security will treat everyone with respect and dignity, making sure that everyone's property is neat and in their tent area, helping keeping the area clean, greet everyone and let them know what this is about and why we are doing this visual, making sure that everyone reads these rules. The security is there to make sure that we are all safe and let everyone know that it's quiet time, and to let everyone know that there is quiet time from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and remind people to keep social distancing and wearing your mask. If you don't, did y'all bring the mask? Okay. If you don't have a mask, we have some here. So we got to make sure that we keep the social distancing, okay? Now, things that you cannot do, no drugs are allowed, no stealing of property, no antagonizing the police if they still happen to show up. All right, I'm gonna move on. I just want y'all to know that here in Denver, we have what they call the camping ban. We also have a problem with housing. And my ideology is this: how can you enforce something when you're not providing the very people with the thing that you're trying to enforce? And they're not providing housing, and they're not going to provide housing
Good morning, boys and girls, friends, lovers, children of all ages. We are outside the city and county building
such as
with Denver Homeless Out Loud.
Spaces. And one thing about that, what I'm trying to say is this: if they have not, in the last 9 years, only bringing on sporadically of apartments that people can rent according to their income, what makes you think that they are going to create housing, even though we don't have the safe outdoor space yet, but we need them in every single district so that, and at the same time, that no one should be staying there forever. They should be going from a safe camp right into an apartment. Simple. One that they can afford according to their income. Housing should be a right. And we're gonna make sure that this happens because everyone that want a house should have a house. Period. Another thing is this. Another thing is this. Why is it that people of color, if you break them down into the ethnic groups, they are the minority in this city, but yet they are the ones that make up more.
The coffee you
And
can
with the last one, they are living on the streets every day. They've been pushed around, they've been displaced, and that's wearing on you. I don't know what the mayor has in store, but I did hear somebody say one time, if you continue to do the same thing and expecting a different result, and you keep getting the same one, what they call lunacy. So I'm like this: why their own officials are not talking to these providers, talking to these developers about it is advantageous to have everyone in a house that want a place to live, because at the end of the day, housing should not be an investment to where you can get as much you want. And another thing I want to say too, the rich people and the people that are housed in the neighborhoods, let me tell y'all something. y'all do not have authority on who can live where and how they live. They need a place just like you got a place. If you're fortunate for you, you can afford your mortgage, you can afford your rent, and people can't afford these high prices rent out here on a basic income, on a set income. So we got to change the narrative. We got to change this. And I am asking the neighbors that are housed to please quit being NIMBYs, because you got a place. The unhoused people, they need a place. And you need to be calling out the city and telling them that these people need to be in housing, not to be swept. And I'm gonna call, that's all I got to say on that for today. Teresa, you wanna come up here and go in, Anna, you wanna come up and go into further detail?
Good morning, all you beautiful people. Thank you for coming out today. So first off, I'd like to say that there is a sweep happening right now on Stout between 21st and 22nd. It is the second sweep that we have had this week. Last week we had 3 sweeps, which is an increased amount of sweeps that we saw in 2019. In 2019, we were averaging 1 sweep per week. We are now seeing 2 to 3 sweeps per week. And even though we have filed a lawsuit against the city. I also want to make it very clear that homelessness is a systemic issue. There are no individual reasons for homelessness. This is a systemic issue because our federal government in the late 70s decided to defund public housing. This was purposeful, it was created, and it was a way of commodifying humans, much like slavery was. We are here to bring awareness and education around the issue of racism and homelessness. As Jerry stated earlier, it is Black, Brown, and Indigenous people who are disproportionately represented amongst our unhoused. By far, it is Native Americans who are the most disproportionately represented in our data for Denver and the unhoused.
In the orange mask right behind you? Guns N' Roses?
We will have speakers. We will have food. We will be here building community. We will be here to be an example of what could be. What could be if people cared. This is an issue not just for the unhoused, but for the housed and for the business community. We understand that it can be uncomfortable and undesirable to have folks on the street without sanitation services. You should be upset. You should be upset at your city government. You should be upset at our mayor, who refuses to provide those services to all of our residents. It is government's responsibility to take care of those services for us. That is why we pay taxes. So I also find it incredibly distressing that our mayor would be encouraging divisiveness amongst community members. We should be united on this issue. All people deserve a home. A home is a human right. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you'll stay for the entire 4 days and see what it could be like. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for that, because at the end of the day, just what she said, we pay taxes for the very reason that we have the unhoused neighbors out here. And just because you're poor does not mean that you need to be treated as cattle. You don't need to be treated as a criminal. So we got to bring some attention to this, and we got to stand up and say, yo, we're not going to stand for this, because we all pay taxes. If you buy a candy bar, you're paying taxes. If you're buying a sandwich, you're paying taxes. So we got to do that what's right. And then the right thing to do is to get these people into housing, and the developers, y'all need to quit thinking about money, because like I said, if the pandemic didn't teach you anything, you can have all the money in the world, but when you can't spend it, what you gonna do with it? And off of that note, I'm calling up to Reese Howard. She gonna speak on having a baby.
I also have just one question. Would you consider this space that you all are creating a safe outdoor space?
Well,
Not by the city standards, but like, would you consider this a safe outdoor space?
let me tell you something about safe outdoor space. Safe outdoor space, there's no such thing. It is, that's what they want you to believe, but safe outdoor space, it's only safe as it's only safe as much as, it's only safe as far as the people keep it. In other words, I can walk out my house or walk down the street right down there. I'm outdoors. That's safe. It's safe as long as I'm out there. But you never know what's going to happen, because, first of all, you got too many negative things that come around, like police messing with people, rolling up. You got individuals that live in houses messing with people that coming up. So any space that you have can become unsafe. But according to this space here, this space will be safe because hopefully we are going to try to make sure that this space stays safe. If you come down here to this space this week, the rest of this week for 81 hours, just come down here with respect and dignity, because we are not trying to take away from the reason why we're out here to give the news something that is newsworthy, such as people getting arrested or violent. But this is what we call a safe space, but it's not what the city calls safe space. I don't know, the city knows if they know what a safe space is.
I would call it a safe space. The only thing that we fear is the police and our government. We will maintain safe space here for our community. The only thing we fear is our government.
That's it, is it in a nutshell. Teresa, would you come on up, please, and say a few words. That's 3 words.
Okay, 3 words it is. No, really, most things have been said already, so I don't have much to add. But we'll just add that we're here for a specific reason. We're here because racism and homelessness are intricately intertwined. And because if we're going to talk about one thing, we have to talk about both. If we have a city that says we're going to work hard to address the racial disparities in home ownership, why do we not have a city that also says we're going to work hard to address the racial disparities in homelessness, not just home ownership?
Preach it,
It
girl.
goes from all of that spectrum. We can't just talk about, folks who are able to make it without talking about folks who are on the streets in the massive disproportionality of black and brown folks who are homeless, as opposed to any other category. And with that, if we're going to talk about in the host housing plan, the Office of Housing Stability is what it's called. That's literally the name. They talk a lot about how we need to have housing stability and how displacement is a problem. And they talk about racism and gentrification as problems in our housing system around displacement and gentrification. But nowhere in this entire host housing plan does it draw the connection to point out that same displacement is happening every single day on the streets, primarily to people of color who are being kicked from block to block to block in sweeps. What is really the difference between sweeps and evictions and displacement and gentrification? It's all the same connected force. And if we don't start naming that, and naming the fact that these sweeps are a part of the city's force of gentrification, then we're not going to face reality. So that's just, I guess, one thing I'll add for the moment. There's 4 days of time together here, so we can keep speaking together and sharing our experiences, sharing reality, calling the powers to be to take action. Because while we're here in the vigil, in honor of the disproportionality of what's going on in racism and homelessness, we're also here to call for action. We're not just here to sit back and say, oh, this is okay, we're just going to, mourn what's going on and not call for action. We're here to call for action. There's action steps that can be done, that must be done, and let's spend these next 4 days talking about that. Thank you.
Therese, before you go, currently the Denver budget is being examined. Has Denver Homeless Out Loud put any specific budget issues to City Council this year?
Yes, for sure. I was going to speak more on that later, but just in brief, the city budget is proposed. It is about 75% going for police and quote unquote safety. The large majority of the budget goes for that sector of our society, which does not keep us safe, which instead keeps us in danger. And instead, there's roughly 1% of the budget that's going towards housing. So we have a whole bunch of proposals going to City Council asking that those funds be redirected from the police department to housing. We are asking that a simple $300,000, small number, when you look at the city budget, that a $300,000 sum go towards trash and sanitation services, just trash services, sorry, let me clarify, trash services for folks who are living outside. $300,000 would pay for maintaining trash cans that get dumped, just like house people get trash cans that get dumped at encampments. We also have a line item about $700,000 proposed for porta potties and other types of sanitation and hand washing stations, which we currently, as Denver Homeless Out Loud, pay for. Denver Homeless Out Loud and MAD create these hand washing stations and porta potties, and the city refuses to do that. So there's a line item for that. And I'll just also add, there's some others, but one other tip of note is a line item for housing. We put in a budget item that's upwards of $8 billion. That's what we're really looking at in terms of what we want invested in housing. But there's a smaller sum that still would make a serious dent that asks the city to master lease existing properties and turn them into low-income housing that Candy C. DeBaca is putting forward that would be a significant increase in the housing budget. So those are just a few of the budget proposals that are going forward.
So make sure you email or call your council member and let them know that you are in support of these line items for the budget.
And of course, you can come down here to the Bannock Building, where we're going to be for the next several days. Right outside here, 14th and Bannock. You can drop off your ballot and you can come be with community, because there's a simple message. So this is Brian Loma, and we'll be here throughout the next several days. Come down, participate in person, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.